My future mother-in-law slid the prenuptial agreement across the table. "Sign it," she said. Not asked, commanded. It was the night before my wedding. My dress was hanging in the closet. My family had flown in from 3 states. The venue was decorated. "Victoria, is this really necessary?" my fiancé James asked his mother. "Absolutely. We've worked too hard to build this family's wealth to let some—" She paused, looking at me. "Nurse take half of it." I read through the document. It was brutal. In case of divorce, I would get nothing. No house, no savings, no alimony. Nothing. "I understand you're protecting your son," I said calmly. "Good. Then sign." I picked up the pen. My hand didn't shake. I signed every page. Because what they didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I didn't need their money. I already had more than they could imagine. And tomorrow, at my wedding, they were going to find out. My name is Sophia Ann Bennett. I'm 29 years old, and I'm an ER nurse at Boston Memorial Hospital. I have a good life, you could say. A decent salary to live on, a reliable car, and a social circle filled with people I genuinely care about. But for the past 2 years, I've been invisible to my fiancé's family. Or rather, in their eyes, I've been visible as that nurse. It all started 2 years ago when I met James Whitmore. I was caring for his father, who'd had a heart attack at the hospital. James came every day, sat for hours, talked to his father. One day, we met at the coffee machine. "You're taking good care of my dad," he'd said. "It's my job," I'd smiled. "No, I mean, you're not just doing your job. You actually care." And that's how it began. Our first date was at a cafe, a modest place. James looked a bit out of place in his suit, but he didn't care. "Where do you usually eat?" I asked. "Usually at the club or Morton's, but this feels more real." The first warning sign should have been there. The club, Morton's. But I was falling in love, and I ignored it. The first 6 months were perfect. James was kind, understanding, never questioned my work hours. We ate pizza together, watched Netflix, went for walks in Central Park. Then I met his family. The Whitmore family lived in a historic mansion in Back Bay. The house was probably worth around $8 million. Private drivers, full-time staff, 3 cars in the garage. When Victoria Whitmore opened the door, she looked me up and down. "You must be James's friend," she said. She put special emphasis on the word friend. "Fiancé," James corrected. "Mom, this is Sophia." "Oh," she paused. "How unexpected." That dinner was the most tense 3 hours of my life. Victoria and Richard Whitmore asked me questions as if conducting a job interview. "Sophia, where did you go to school?" Victoria asked. "I studied nursing at Boston State." "Boston State," she repeated, as if there was a bad taste in her mouth. "Not Ivy League, of course." "No, not Ivy League, but it was a very good program." "I'm sure it was," she said, but her voice wasn't convincing. "What do your parents do?" "My father is a retired firefighter. My mother is an elementary school teacher." Victoria and Richard exchanged glances, a small, meaningful look. "How humble," Richard said, "blue collar." James squeezed my hand under the table, as if apologizing. After dinner, Victoria called me into the kitchen. "Would you like to help, dear?" In the kitchen, while washing dishes, she spoke. "Sophia, James has a history. You should know." "A history?" "He was engaged before, to Alexandra. Wonderful girl. Wellesley graduate. Her father is a judge. She would have made a perfect wife." "What happened?" Alexandra couldn't keep up with James's lifestyle, the expectations. I'm not sure you can either. But I was resilient, and I loved James. Over the next 2 years, at every family dinner, every holiday, every gathering, I experienced small humiliations. When Victoria looked at my engagement ring, modest, how practical. When James's brother asked about wedding plans, I hope you haven't chosen too expensive a place. We know nurse salaries are limited. Richard, at a Thanksgiving dinner, Sophia, do you have any investments? Retirement accounts? Just my 401k from the hospital, I'd said. Ah, well, good. Modest but sensible. Each time I smiled, nodded, and stayed silent, because I was keeping a secret, a very big secret. My grandfather, Thomas Bennett, was a technology pioneer. In the 1970s, he founded a company that revolutionized computer software. The company went public in the 1990s. When Grandpa died in 2018, his fortune was $4.2 billion. Grandpa left a will, a complex, multi-layered will. Much of his wealth would go to charity, but his grandchildren, me, my 2 cousins, and my brother, would each receive inheritances at specific ages. I received my first payment at age 25, $2.5 million. It was deposited into an offshore account managed by a private trust fund manager. Now, at 29, my trust fund had grown to $8.7 million. Next year, when I turned 30, the second major transfer would come. Another $15 million. Total, $23.7 million. And the Whitmore family had no idea. Why didn't I tell them? Because my grandfather had taught me something. The last time I saw him, in his hospital bed, he held my hand and said, "Sophia, money shows people's true faces. If you're rich, you can never know if they love you for real reasons or for your money. But if you're poor or appear poor, then you see their true character." So that's what I did. For 2 years, I played the role of a modest nurse. I drove an old Honda Civic while my Tesla sat in storage. I lived in a small studio apartment while my luxury Manhattan apartment sat empty. I clipped coupons, bought discount clothes, and always said, "I can't afford it." And the Whitmore family looked down on me at every opportunity. But I was patient, because I knew, on my wedding day, everything would change. 1 week before the wedding, Victoria came to my apartment. It was an unexpected visit. "Sophia, we need to talk," she said before coming in. "Of course, come in." She sat down, pulled a thick file from her bag. "This is a prenuptial agreement, a prenup. Our family lawyer prepared it." My heart raced, but I tried to keep my face neutral. "A prenup?" "Yes. You understand, James has significant assets. The family business, inheritance, things we need to protect." "Does James want this?" "James is emotional. You understand. But we, as parents, need to think rationally." I took the document, read it. It was terrible. In case of divorce, all of James's assets were protected. House, cars, investments, company shares, everything was his. Me? Nothing. Even after more than 5 years of marriage, I could only get $50,000 per year. Per year! And only after 5 years. During the marriage, I could only receive $2,000 monthly personal spending from joint accounts. If there were children, James would automatically get custody if we divorced. "This is very one-sided," I said. "Sophia, let's be realistic. You're a nurse. James is a Whitmore. This is fair. Fair? Yes. What are you bringing to the marriage? Your salary, what, $60,000? $70,000 a year? James makes 7 figures annually. I smiled, a small, controlled smile. I understand. Good. So sign. The wedding is coming up. We need to settle legal matters. Can I consult my own lawyer? Victoria paused. Why? This is very clear. No need for additional legal fees. But this is about my future. Sophia, her voice hardened. If you really love James, if you really want to join this family, you'll sign. Period. That night, I called my own lawyer, Helen Foster, a trusted family law attorney. But only she knew one thing, my real financial situation. Helen, they're trying to make me sign a prenup. Bring it, let's see. The next day, I went to Helen's office. She read the prenup, looked at me over her reading glasses. This is terrible, completely in their favor. I know. And you're considering signing it? Yes. Sophia, but with one condition. We're going to add a counter clause. Helen raised her eyebrows. I'm listening. If James's family publicly humiliates, demeans, or disparages me regarding my socioeconomic background during the marriage, this agreement becomes void, and they become liable for damages. Helen smiled slowly. So, you're setting a trap. You could say that. And the damage amount? I thought, 25% of James's current net worth, and an additional $500,000 for each instance of disparagement by his family. Helen considered. If they accept, they will, because they won't read it. They already think they've won. And I was right. 3 days later, the night before my wedding, Victoria and Richard came to my small apartment. They brought the prenup. Sign it, Victoria said. I took the document. Helen's added counter clause was on page 18, hidden in legal jargon, written in complex language. The parties shall refrain from using disparaging language regarding the other party's family background, economic status, or professional standing in public or private settings during the marriage. Violation of this provision shall render this agreement void, and the violating party, E's, shall be liable for damages. Victoria quickly scanned it, signed. Richard signed too. Good girl, Victoria said. Now we can be a family. I signed too, but I couldn't hide my smile. The wedding day arrived. The ceremony was beautiful. 200 guests, a beautiful venue. Everything was perfect. During the reception, after dinner, it was time for speeches. James stood up, gave a heartfelt speech. My mother cried, gave a beautiful speech. Then Richard stood up. I raise my glass to my new daughter-in-law, he began, smiling at the 200 guests. We're so grateful James found someone so grounded. A nurse, someone who works with her hands. We need more humble people in this family. Humble. The word hung in the air. My bridesmaids looked uncomfortable. My mother's jaw tightened.
Sophia comes from a simple background, he continued. No trust funds, no inheritances. Just hard work and, let's be honest, the luck of catching my son. Laughter rippled through the room. Not kind laughter. James squeezed my hand under the table. I'm sorry, he whispered. I smiled, stood up, took the microphone. Thank you, Richard. That was enlightening. Before we continue, I have something I'd like to share. I pulled out a folder, a very specific folder. About that simple background you mentioned? The room fell silent. I want to clarify a few things. Yes, I'm a nurse. Yes, I drive a 10-year-old Honda.
Yes, I clip coupons. Victoria and Richard looked confused. But there's something I haven't mentioned. My grandfather, Thomas Bennett, passed away in 2018. Perhaps you've heard of him, founder of Bennett Technologies. Richard's face changed. He recognized the name. When my grandfather passed, his estate was worth approximately $4.2 billion. He left a will, and I, among his grandchildren, received inheritances at specific ages. Victoria's hands started trembling. Currently, my net worth is $8.7 million. Next year, when I turn 30, I'll receive another $15 million. Total, $23.7 million. Silence. Complete silence. Now, Richard, let's revisit that simple background comment. What's the net worth of Whitmore Investment? According to my online research, approximately $18 million. So, mathematically, I'm wealthier than your family. Richard jumped up. This is impossible. It's not impossible. It's just something you didn't know, because I didn't tell you. Why? Because my grandfather taught me something. You can use money to see people's true character. If you're rich, you never know why they love you. But if you appear poor, that's when you learn. Victoria opened her mouth, but no sound came out. For 2 years, you looked down on me. You called me modest. You called me humble. You called me grounded. At every family dinner, every holiday, you looked at me from above. Sophia, James stood up. I didn't know. I know, James. You didn't know. Because I didn't tell you either. But I didn't tell your family because I was testing them. And the test results? They failed. I opened the folder. And now, let's return to that prenup you signed. Specifically, page 18, clause 4. Would you read it, Richard? Richard took the document, read it trembling. His face went pale. The parties shall refrain from using disparaging language regarding the other party's economic status in public settings during the marriage. Violation of this provision shall render this agreement void, and the violating party, ease, shall be liable for damages. The damage amount, I continued, is 25% of James's net worth, plus $500,000 for each instance of disparagement. You, Richard, just made disparaging comments about my simple background in front of 200 people. You even used the word humble in a mocking tone. This voids the prenup and makes you liable for damages. Helen Foster stood up from among the guests. I'm Ms. Bennett's attorney. This prenup is legally binding, and Mr. Whitmore's violation has been recorded on video. Victoria screamed. This is a trap. No, I said calmly. This is justice. For 2 years, you thought I was something. You looked down on me. You saw me as worthless. But the truth is, I'm wealthier than you, more independent than you, and definitely happier than you. James looked at me. Sophia, why didn't you tell me? Because, James, I needed to know if you really loved me. Not my money, but me. And I know you do. But your family? They never loved me. They only saw me as insufficient for their son. And now, they'll pay the price. What do you want? Victoria asked, her voice trembling. Nothing, I said. You won't pay damages, because I don't want it. But from now on, you'll treat me with respect, as an equal. Or James and I will live our own lives, without your interference. The choice is yours. The wedding ended in disaster. Guests were shocked. Some applauded. Most left quietly. James and I went on our honeymoon, to Bali. For 2 weeks, we talked about everything. Why didn't you tell me? he asked. Because I didn't want to see money change people. I didn't want it to change you. But you tested my family. Yes, and they failed. But you didn't fail. You loved me as Sophia the nurse, not rich Sophia. I always loved you. When we returned from the honeymoon, everything had changed. Victoria and Richard had sent an apologetic letter. It was long, detailed, and seemed genuine. Forgive us for looking down on you. We thought money was important, but character is more important. You love our son, and that's what matters most. A year later, at Thanksgiving dinner, everything was different. Victoria said, Sophia, I'd be interested in your company's investment strategy. Would you advise? Richard said, Sophia, you were right. Character is more important than money. And James held my hand and whispered, Are you still going to drive that modest Honda? I laughed. Maybe it's time to bring out the Tesla. It's been 3 years since our wedding now, and my life is wonderful. I still love James. He loves me too. My relationship with my mother-in-law improved, respectful, equal. And me? I'm still a nurse because I love my job. But it's no longer a secret. Everyone knows. I'm both a nurse and a millionaire. And I don't need to hide it. Because I learned, money tests people. But true character is independent of money. James loved me without money, and I loved him despite his family. And that's worth more than any prenup. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply telling the truth. And sometimes, staying silent is the most powerful weapon. I'm Sophia Ann Bennett. I'm 32 years old. I'm an ER nurse, and I have a $24 million fortune. But my most valuable thing? A husband who loves me for who I am, not for my money. And that? Priceless.